Hello and welcome. My name is Zach DeWeerd, and this is the Night Sports Show. I am along with Caleb Bradley, Alex Vanderlant, and Mark Vanderlucht.
Hi.
So last week we talked a lot about the Leafs and the ever-changing lines of Mike Babcock. We talked a lot about whether Mitch Marner was a winger or a centerman. But today we are going to talk about all the Canadian teams except the Leafs. So we're going to kind of branch out a little bit. So if you paid attention at all in the NHL schedule last night, you saw that Montreal scored a lot of goals and did not let a whole lot in their game. They won 10-1 over the Detroit Red Wings. So I want to know, is this a turning point for Montreal? They are currently in that third in the Atlantic, so they're in the playoffs. They're not a bad team. They're 6 points behind the Leafs, but they have not been the Montreal we thought we'd see at the beginning of the year. So, Mark, you have the mic. I want to hear a little bit of your thoughts on the Montreal Canadiens team.
Honestly, what it comes down to, they got Detroit on a really bad night. Yes, Montreal has Carey Price, and they have Shea Weber, and they have Max Pacioretty, who got 0 points last night, which is impressive on a 10-1 win. Paul Byron got a hat trick. Is this a turning point? Quite frankly, no. They just got Detroit on a really bad night. The defense is what it is, very bad. The offense looked incredible and unstoppable and loaded with depth last night. No, they don't have a legitimate number one centerman, and that's what you need to be successful in the NHL today. You need a number one centerman. They have a number one defenseman. They have a number one goalie, okay, but they're both aging. They're not going to be good forever. This is not a turning point. This is simply just a hot streak.
And is it Carey Price's contract that starts next year? And it's 10 years.
No, Carey Price, we laugh about it, but he's given up 3 goals in his first 4 games back. He's won me fantasy.
He's been
leagues.
incredible. Absolutely.
Like Carey Price is back to Carey Price.
He's back to Carey Price, yes.
The Montreal Canadiens can score 2 goals every game because Price isn't letting up any more than 1. So we've seen it before. Montreal has always just been a poorly offensive, put-together team.
They're a counterattack team.
And look at them now. They've relied on their guys like Pacioretty, Gallagher, Galchenyuk, Drouin this year to get the 2 goals in the game, and Carey Price holds it down from there. I think we're seeing what Montreal would have been this year if Carey Price had been here all year, and 4 wins this week. Price, his GAA is under 1. Since he's been back. And I'm sure he's not even at his top shape yet because he's still coming off the IR. I think Montreal is definitely making a turn. Will they score 10 goals every game? No, of course not. But they don't need to with Carey Price in that.
Obviously, I think we all knew that Montreal probably wasn't as bad as they started this year, but in my opinion, it's going to be a struggle for them all year. They're going to be a borderline playoff team. Yes, they've won 5 in a row, but in that span, they've beaten Detroit twice. Detroit's not a good team. They beat Buffalo. Buffalo's not a good team. They beat Ottawa when Ottawa was in the midst of a 5-game losing streak. And before Montreal won these 5 in a row, they had just lost 6 of their last 7. So
without Carey Price.
Still,
Charlie Lindgren will probably not play a game in the NHL again.
No. I still think that this is going to be a team that's a borderline playoff team all year. They're going to be on the bubble. It's going to be a grind for them. Maybe they can bring in some more offensive help. That would really help, in my opinion. But yeah, Carey Price clearly makes a huge difference.
Yeah, when's the next time Paul Byron's going to get 3 goals in one game?
When's the next time the Canadiens are going to score 3 goals in one game?
Next time Paul Byron going to score 3 goals ever.
Next time they play Detroit.
I think that Montreal's always just done this. They've always gotten by on Carey Price, and
it's a dangerous game.
It's a dangerous game, but it works. And they've been to the Eastern Finals a handful of times in the last couple of years, and it's basically just been because of Carey Price. You get a hot goalie.
Must be nice.
You never know what could happen with a hot goalie. So honestly, if I'm Toronto, I'm getting a little bit nervous that Montreal is going to start, just completely turning into a new team now.
I still don't think they have the offensive firepower to be able to overtake Toronto, but
it doesn't matter. You don't need that. Look, Montreal has never had that offensive firepower.
Yeah, but they've had better teams than they have this year.
That much better?
Yeah,
probably. Like Plekanec.
What was Plekanec now? 36, 37?
I don't think they've really had too many All-Stars on their team. They've lost Beaulieu. They've lost...
They
Brad-
lost a lot of defense.
Radulov, Markov from last year.
I don't think Markov's a game changer.
He's a very good
He
defensive
was
player.
the only puck moving defenseman they had.
I'm just saying that Montreal is for sure a playoff team if Price stays healthy. I don't think there's any question in the world about that.
I think
no question.
they're probably the third best team in that division with a healthy Price, which will make them a playoff team.
And I'm assuming in front of them is Tampa Bay and Toronto.
That, in my opinion, it goes Tampa, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Florida, Boston, Detroit. I think Florida's going to pick it up. I think they're a better team than what they've shown.
You think Montreal's better than Ottawa?
Yeah, I think so.
As of late, 100%.
As of
Ottawa
late,
sucks
of
right
course,
now, but
as of late.
Craig Anderson's been a mess in net.
what's up with Duchesne?
Should have kept Kyle Turris.
Yeah.
Are you
But
serious?
Kyle Turris isn't great on Nashville anymore.
They've all completely
So
underperformed.
somehow Colorado's actually winning that trade.
And none of their players have played in the NHL so far.
Yeah, they're winning it
Without any of their players actually shooting
somehow.
up.
They've
Wow.
Their first round draft picks are doing well in juniors right now.
So where do you guys see Montreal going in the playoffs? So are we all saying that they make the playoffs?
Imagine a Montreal Toronto
Montreal
first
Leafs-
round playoff
Montreal
series.
Leafs
Wow.
100%, and I would never count Montreal out just because of their goalie.
Either way, it's shaping up to be either Montreal, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, or Toronto, Ottawa. It's really looking like it's going to be one of those three matchups, and that's going to be a great series.
I would be a lot more scared of Montreal than I would be Ottawa, just solely on the fact of Carey Price standing on his head, knowing to get Montreal far in playoffs
Yeah,
constantly.
I agree with that. And Toronto has struggled against Montreal. Like they've won both matchups against them this year, but prior to that, 14 in a row. I know it was a different Leafs team, but still,
They've
like
just
Caleb
never
saying,
done-
Carey
they've never
Price.
done well in Montreal. For some strange reason, they just cannot win in Montreal like ever. Like I remember past years, I see it's in Montreal, and it's just like this is going to be a loss because they never do well. And I don't know, when you've got Weber in front of your number one defenseman is Weber in front of Carey Price, it's scary to try and run an offense like the Leafs do have, which is incredible. But to really have that firepower because Carey Price is just he really is that good, and we've seen it this week. 4 games, I'm not mistaken, it's been 3 goals. And you never know, like maybe these guys are a lot more confident. Would they have scored 10 goals in front of Lindgren? I don't know. Guys like when they're playing with a guy where they feel like they can take more chances and make more mistakes because they've got a guy back there who's going to bail them out. So
That's
you know,
very
like
true.
it
You
affects
play a
the
lot
rest of the
better.
team, and you do things that you wouldn't normally do with Charlie Lindgren in net, who couldn't stop a beach ball for 50% of the time. So
He started out very well. He started out really well.
And then ended really
It's just-
bad.
it's like you can see
it
it
was
with-
a harsh decline.
You can see
Very
it with
bad.
a lot of other sports too. Like if you're baseball, if we're talking baseball, like pitchers do a lot better when they've got a catcher who they're comfortable with because they know they can throw that curveball in the dirt and know that he's going to stop that. And I don't think it's a complete coincidence that you saw guys like J.A. Happ, Estrada, Stroman, guys like that doing so well. It's because they have a catcher who they trust and know is going to sounds stupid, but provide that service behind the plate. Like do what it takes to be a good catcher. And with Carey Price, guys are confident in front of him. Guys like playing in front of Carey Price. Who wouldn't? So, I think it's showing. Their offense has been good and their defense has been stellar. So I'm thinking Montreal is a scary team to play in the playoffs strictly because their goalie could get hot and their goalie can win a series for them hands down.
When it comes to Montreal, though, I think it's that they have their goalie and their defense to rely on, but with Ottawa, they can do significant damage. They're a team that can blow off 5-6 goals on you and just completely park the bus. That's it. They are a team that has physical players, offensive players, defensive players. Their goaltending has been shaky this year at times, but they're a team that has very, very, very dangerous offensive depth. that can do some serious damage to your team. They've proven it at times when the games are, or when they're playing against the Leafs, when they beat them 6-3, they were dominant against the Leafs. Montreal will score 4 or 5 goals, and that's it. You know, Ottawa can score 6, 7, and it's, you know, I feel a little more scared about Ottawa. You know, you don't know what you're going to get from them. They're a bit more of a bigger animal to deal with. Montreal, you know what you're getting from them. Shea Weber and Carey Price. Max Pacioretty's going to chip in. Gallagher's going to chip in, and then they have Thomas Buchanitz, Paul Byron,
Jonathan Drouin.
Wow. Okay. The Leafs have Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Marleau, JVR, Kadri, Bozak, Levo, Martin.
But not Carey Price. And
They
not a
have
shutdown
Frederick
guy
Anderson.
like
And-
Shea Weber.
Look at Anderson. He was named the second star of the month.
Oh, I don't care about the stars. The stars come out. Like, who picks the
What?
stars? Nobody cares about the stars. I could pick the stars.
He had a pretty good month.
Yeah,
Are you looking at his stats?
Yeah, I'm sure he had a great month, but
He
Carey
did have a great
Price
month.
has had a better 4 days than Frederick Anderson had all month because he's
Okay,
just
but
that
is he
good.
going to keep that up for a whole season, though?
He always does.
Frederick
Carey Price
Anderson
has
did have
always
back-to-back
been-
shutouts, and Price didn't.
Yeah, but he's not going to keep that up for a whole month, though.
course
Also,
not. That's-
some breaking news: the Shohei Ohtani will not go with the Yankees. So, Blue Jay fans,
Good.
stay
Good.
hopeful.
Good,
Thank
good.
goodness.
We still have
Breaking
a
news
chance.
on the show. We were talking about Ottawa there for a second. The thing with Ottawa, they're a well-coached team, and yeah, they're deep.
They got Carlson, too.
But yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. They
That's an
might be
assist
the
a
most
game, guaranteed.
they might be the team that relies most on one star player in the whole
No.
league. What team relies more on one
No.
player? Name a team that relies more on one player.
I wouldn't-
The thing is,
I-
Ottawa's been struggling with it.
I could
They've
tell you.
lost-
I could tell you a team.
They-
Montreal Canadiens.
Okay, well,
And
I'm
don't disagree with me on that one because
okay, that's not a goalie. That's not a
Whoa.
goalie.
Okay, so now you're making up new rules.
Yes, I just made up a rule right there.
Okay, well you can
No
make up a
team
rule for
relies
everyone.
on an offensive, defensive player more than Ottawa. They've lost 10 of their last 14. They've just lost 7 in a row. And during that stretch, they didn't score more than 2 goals at all, and Erik Karlsson did not record a point. And I do not think that's a coincidence. Without Karlsson, their offense significantly struggles. And, yeah, they need to get some secondary scoring going. Or else they're just going to keep dropping the
It's-
standings. Craig Anderson can't keep it together of
You're-
late.
are
As
you
someone
telling
who
me-
has been fantasy, I've seen his struggles.
Are you
Hasn't
telling me
been
that
helping me.
Carlson is more value to Ottawa than McDavid is to Edmonton?
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, I am. If you watched Ottawa in the playoffs last year, that was a one-man team. Carlson put that team
Yeah.
on his back, 2 broken ankles, and
Yeah.
he carried them,
Yeah, well,
and a broken back by the end of it, probably.
I agree with you. Carlson is good, but I think there's a lot more to Ottawa
Like who's on
than like a team like Montreal with Carey Price and Edmonton, who has been really good in the past, but this year especially, it's kind of just a McDavid show. Like, yeah, there's Draisaitl. I don't want to devalue him, and like Lucic shouldn't be undervalued, and Puljujarvi's done all right. Like, there's other guys, but like we're not talking about the Penguins here, where you lose Crosby. Oh no, well you still have Malkin, Kessel.
Who else does
Letang.
Ottawa have? They have Duchesne and Hoffman and Dion Phaneuf
Stone.
and Mark Stone and Dion Phaneuf.
Peugeot's
and
been all
Chris
right,
Weidman.
and Shabbat. If he is he even on the team right now? Because
No, he's
if he comes
still in
up, then
minors, I
he
believe.
could.
When Bobby Ryan
What?
is on.
Well,
Bobby
Bobby
Ryan.
Ryan has been terrible for the past 2 years now.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what's happened to him. That's an interesting case study right there. What happened to Bobby Ryan?
Because he was a star
Oh yeah,
on
in
Anaheim.
Anaheim, he was really good. Like he was supposed to be one of the next top wingers in the league, and just can't seem to do anything.
I think it just boils down to like his struggles of finding what his role is on the team. Like when he played for the Anaheim Ducks, he was on a line with Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaff.
Was that a line?
At times it was, yes, it was. But with Ottawa, they play such a defensive, structured game. It's difficult to know what to do in that system when you're such an offensive-minded player. He's not known for his defensive game. He will not back check as well as other players can. He will not be on the penalty kill. He's definitely not a guy that you need on the ice when you're holding down a lead. It's one of those things. Like, you look at Duchesne, he's an offensive-minded player with a two-way structured game. Right now, I think his biggest problem was just to get adjusted to the team's structure. When you put a guy with Duchesne together with Hoffman, Bobby Ryan, Mark Stone, Erik Karlsson, that's going to be a good combination. Duchesne is a very skilled player who just needs time to adjust to the team, based on the fact that right now, or in his first 5 to 7 games, he really struggled with the system. You know, where to back check, how deep to go into the system, who to pick up when he's back checking. Right now, he's going to pick it up. He is picking it up now, but I see no problem with Duchesne. I think Bobby Ryan has really had some serious identity issues in Ottawa.
Just a fun little game here. What if the Leafs were to get Karlsson? Like, what if you gave Gardner, Marner, and a first? Would you do that if you're the Leafs?
In a heartbeat.
Would you do that if you're Ottawa? Because I would say you do.
I wouldn't do that if I was Ottawa.
Really?
In my opinion, Karlsson's a top 3 player in the NHL behind Crosby, McDavid.
I agree,
Erik
but you
Karlsson.
get Marner, who's 22. You get Gardner, who's 23 or 4, and you get a first-round pick that, you know, it's going to be a late 20s, but it's a first-round pick.
Like, I don't think Ottawa
Is it
does
that easy for the Leafs, though?
I think it's very easy for the Leafs. You put Karlsson on that blue line, that's a Stanley Cup favorite right there, no doubt. Wow. I can't think of a package that doesn't include Austin Matthews. That the Leafs, I can't think of a fair trade between those two teams for Karlsson, because either the Leafs wouldn't want to do it because they're giving too much in their opinion, or Ottawa wouldn't think they're getting enough, even if the value might be there.
Ottawa comes to us tomorrow, Karlsson for Matthews.
No,
because I completely agree. There's no chance.
Not for Matthews.
But if it's Marner, Gardner, and a first, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's just,
like, as a Leafs fan, I'd love that.
I don't think Ottawa would be. I honestly don't think they would be that against that, because you're getting the same players, Karlsson with Gardner, minus 5 times. He's the same type of player.
Gardner,
Times 500.
Okay,
Gardner's been a bit. Gardner's wandered. Okay.
What I'm saying is Karlsson is 5 times better than Gardner. He's going to put up 5 times the points.
500. 500.
He's not that.
Gardner is what he is. Okay,
Gardner's not a good year.
Once every 5 to 10 games, he puts on a show where he's all of a sudden this superb defenseman that can move the puck and skate the puck out of his zone like a Norris Trophy defenseman. But then all of a sudden, the next shift, he lays an egg by giving the puck to the other team, and poof, all of his credibility is zero.
Riley Marner first.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Because that's something Ottawa would 100% do. Riley Marner in a first. Ottawa would do that in a heartbeat. I am sure of it.
They're a divisional team. It's not that easy to say, oh yeah, we'll just give you our blue chip prospect, our blue chip defenseman, and a first round pick. It's not that easy.
So go to LA, get him out, get out of the division, get out of the time zone.
So Drew Doughty
for Riley Marner and a first. Do you do that?
If I was the Leafs, I wouldn't.
No, I would definitely not do that, because Riley right now is being groomed to be a Duncan Keith type of defenseman.
But will he be?
Yes, I think he will.
He'll be a Duncan Keith
type of defenseman.
Maybe a less physical Duncan Keith.
Riley's only 23 as well.
He's 23.
So I'm a massive Riley fan. I'm just saying, Duncan Keith, those are some big shoes to fill. I don't know if you can say that the guy's going to...
Well, you see what Babcock was doing with him last year, though? He didn't have him on the power play. He had him on the penalty kill. Morgan Riley on the penalty kill? Morgan Riley is an offensive defenseman. But Babcock is trying to develop that defensive side of his game. Duncan Keith has both sides of his game down pat. Morgan Riley doesn't quite have both sides of his game down pat, but when he does... Morgan Riley is an incredible... He's a very good skating defenseman. He knows where to put the puck in the offensive zone. He's very good at finding those screens and getting the puck through the seams and getting those tips, getting those screens going, and creating a rebound, creating a scoring chance. when he can develop his defensive side, he's going to be a very good defenseman. I guarantee he will be a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. I guarantee it.
So, Mark, going off Caleb's point, what would you give LA for a Drew Doughty? If you are Lou Lamoriello,
Do you do the Gardner same trade, but with Gardner Marner first?
No one.
Do you do that? Gardner Marner first.
I just want to know what is Doughty worth in the Leafs?
And as a Leafs
players?
fan, do you give
Okay,
up
so
Marner or Nylander first?
When it comes to acquiring players, you look at what the player is, what he was, and who he will become coming to a new team. And then you look at the team that he's coming from, the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings have tremendous cap troubles right now. Okay, so they're not going to have a great time fitting in more cap. So you can't give them players with a substantial cap hit.
Marner
so then with
and
that,
Nylander have very little cap hit right now.
but they will.
But they will.
They will. Okay.
But-
so packaging those two together is going to be a bit of an issue in 3 years' time because Marner and Nylander will have a combined, hopefully below 12 million cap hit.
They will both be RFAs.
Yes.
And LA will lose some guys in the next 2-3 years with
Yes.
big contracts. But I do see what you're saying.
So it's one of those things where like it's their problem is not defense, it's not goaltending, it's offense. They're trying to get good depth for their centers. They have Jeff Carter and Anze Kopitar. Their wingers, who are they? Marian Gaborik. Oh, that's nice. That's great. They got
Tyler
Dustin
Toffoli's
Brown.
not bad.
Okay, he's good. Tyler
Pearson.
Pearson's all the 70s line is a very good line, okay? But Gaborik had 21 points last year. Dustin Brown had maybe 20 points last year.
He has like 20 points now.
Okay, that's great. That's
Brown's been
fantastic.
good.
But is he going to keep that pace up this season? Highly doubtful. He could, but it's doubtful. Okay, so with that in mind, you would probably give them a blue chip defensive prospect, a high pick first, most likely, with a top 6 forward. My choosing would be JVR. He's a guy that puts out 60 points every year, okay? Gets 30 goals, 30 assists, plays on the power play.
Be good with Kopitar.
He'd be amazing with Kopitar. And then with that blue chip prospect, I would say, I don't know. I want
Dermott?
to say Dermott or Andrew Nielsen, and then the first round draft pick. Because the biggest thing right now is LA has cap problems. Their offensive problems isn't a huge issue.
Wait, so you're saying that you think that they would do Dermott, JVR, and a first for Doughty?
I think they would think about it.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't-
There's a chance. It depends how desperate LA is, but you're going to get a 20th.
But
or so
JVR
round pick.
at this point would be a rental player.
JVR would be a rental for a team who's not real. Well, LA could go all the way, but they're not.
They got when you have Jonathan Quick and Drew Doughty on your team.
They wouldn't have Judy Addy.
No, I know, but if you look at their team right now, though, when you have Drew Doughty and Jonathan Quick on your team, you have pretty good chances of going deep. Granted, in the last 3 years, they've had struggles of getting into the playoffs. But when they're in the playoffs, they can make some significant noise. Granted, again, in their 3 years, when they made the playoffs, they did not make significant noise. But when they were on their cup runs, their first Stanley Cup, who had them winning the Stanley Cup? I didn't. I don't think anybody in this room had them winning the cup. So
our next team, Winnipeg, Zach?
We're going to take a bit of a breather, actually, just so we can
Could use it.
go away from the East. We're going to go
talking
into
a
the
lot
West.
here.
We're going to go into the West, talk about Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. So this has been the Knights Sports Show. I am Zach, Mark, Alex, and we will be back in about 5 minutes' time.
And Caleb.
And Caleb. Welcome back. After a quick break, we are back, and we have just finished talking about a bunch of the East teams. We said we were going to talk about Toronto, but I feel like we'll go back to that anyways. So we talked about Montreal and Ottawa. We're going to go into the West now, talk about Winnipeg. They're currently first in the Central Division. I want to know, are they for real? So initially they got in the free agency, they got Steve Mason, thinking he's going to be their number one. He had a brutal first game, and now they're back with Connor Hellebuck. He's doing very well, as Mark would know. And
yes, my guy Hellebuck.
and they have a lot of good forwards and have some
Yes.
half decent defensemen on the back with
Some half decent.
okay.
with Dustin Bufflin,
So
Tyler Myers.
Tyler
okay.
Myers.
You know what, Zach? Here's what it is. Okay, Winnipeg has a very top-heavy forward core. Paul Maurice has realized this. Okay, by placing Scheifele with Wheeler, Ehlers, Laine with Brian Little, and Kyle Connor. Their defensive core on paper is very good. Tyler Myers, Dustin Bufflin, Jacob Trouba, Josh Morrissey. They're very solid, stable puck-moving defensemen who can defend the net. Connor Hellebuck, he's come simply out of nowhere. But here's what it is, though. When he was drafted, his scouting report shows that he has number one potential, and it looks to be that he's finally realizing it now. He's at the nice ripe age of 24, 25. He's in his mid-20s.
The ripe age.
The
Is
ripe
he a banana?
age. He's a
Whoever
banana.
says
He is a
right
banana.
on air.
He is a nice yellow
I say
banana.
it right now. No, but
Ripe now.
it makes sense for their team to be good, though.
He's ripe. I'm not ripe yet. I'm only 19.
It's their forward lines are top heavy right now, and it's tough to defend against that when you have Scheifele and Wheeler going together. They're big guys that move the puck who are very skilled. Based on that, like, you're gonna have a bad time when you're going up against Brian Little, Patrick Laine, Nikolai Ehlers, Blake Wheeler. You know, and then coupled with that, you have Tyler Myers, who is 6'8", Dustin Bufflin, who is 6'5", but he is a boss at 265 pounds.
He's
you
ripe.
know? He's
He's not ripe.
he's getting a little soggy.
He's
now.
getting.
No,
He's
but
dried
like
up.
it's
He's wrinkly.
those are the guys that know how to move the puck and keep the puck out of their end. So it makes sense for them to be a good team now.
Are they better than St. Louis or Chicago? Their standings say they are. On paper, are they? I thought St. Louis would be better this year. They're in second place, only 2 points behind the Jets. But I think that they're going to end up overtaking the Jets and winning that Central Division. But that's just my opinion.
They're not better than St. Louis because St. Louis has better team depth. Braden Shen, Jaden Schwartz.
You look at their defense.
Their defense is very good.
Bomeester and Parayko, sorry, just couldn't get the pronunciation right. But that's better than the Jets' defense. I think their top line is
Overall, it's better than the Jets'
overall than the
defense.
Jet- Yeah.
And then they have Jake Allen, who is he has number one starter potential, and he is playing as a number one. So their team is better than the Jets on paper, and realistically, they are a better team. They will overtake them. Jaden Schwartz is a very good forward. They have some nice forward depth at Paul Stastny, Vladimir Sabatka.
This guy named Tarasenko.
Tarasenko, the
I've never heard
Tarasenko
of
show, the Tarasenko show.
But
you know,
will St. Louis really look at like Braden Shen is having the best 30 games of his career. Jaden Schwartz, best 25 games of his career. Paul Stastny is just being Paul Stastny. Pietrangelo, probably the 25 best games of his career.
I think Pietrangelo can keep that up though.
Where can this team go up though? Like they're maxing out. So if the Jets are still better, like where
I
are
don't
they
think
going
they're
wrong?
going to max out. Maxing out is winning the President's Trophy. And
No, but I'm saying
failing.
Schwartz is a point a game right now. Pietrangelo is almost a point a game
But Schwartz
right now.
is supposed to be that good, though. He's a first-round pick.
I don't think Schwartz is an 80.
Braden Shen is
80 to
also-
8 you're saying Braden Shen's an 80-point player?
He was a first-round pick. He's a top 10 pick. He's a top 10.
I don't care where you get picked.
That's
where you
gotta
get picked
say
means
something
nothing.
about
That's who
what
got
he
picked in
could-
the 5th round, 7th round. Zetterberg was in the 6th. I don't care where you get
Okay,
picked.
but that's development.
Jaden
though.
Schwartz is not an 80. I don't think we can say he's an 80-point player.
Okay,
I
well,
don't know if
he's
the
a
guy's ever
70-point
even got
player, at
60
least
points.
then.
I don't think he's even got 60 in his career.
Nail
before.
Yakupov's the first overall pick.
First overall.
Okay, but that's
pick.
just bad. Look at Edmonton, okay? Come on.
I said
That's a
Connor
bad
McDavid.
example.
Connor McDavid,
Come on.
Eberle,
No, they traded.
Nuge, Darnell. Okay, Darnell
Okay.
Nurse is all right. I'm just
Look,
telling you,
like,
I don't care where they
Edmonton,
get picked.
They're hilarious, though, okay?
You could pick them from Latin America on a 35-day-old contract.
All right, that's fine.
And it doesn't matter. I'm just
Okay.
saying Schwartz is not an 80-point player.
He has potential to be one, and he's finally realizing it this year. He's 23 years old. He's not old. He's not too young. He's
ripe.
He's ripe. He's a banana. No, but okay, so what's Okay, but then you bring up Edmonton, though. I read a report that Peter Chiarelli is looking for offense. Who are the guys that he traded away? Taylor Hall. And the other guess?
They need a defense.
Yakupov.
Jordan Eberle. You say
Eberle.
Yakupov before Eberle?
No, I was
got
getting
offensive
to him.
back for
Hey,
Eberle,
no. Zach, I was getting to him, okay? But
They
I'm
got
just
Ryan
saying, though,
Strome.
it's just like that team made its bed, and now they got to lay in it. They're a bad team. They're going to be a bad team. That's great that you have McDavid, but Talbot has been laying an egg.
He's injured now, thank goodness.
Their defensive core is not good enough. Oscar Klefbom is solid, okay, but he's not a number one defenseman, and that's what they're playing him as. Chris Russell gets a lot of block shots, but he's not good enough in the
I
top
think they
four.
wanted Adam Larson to be their number one defenseman when they traded him for
I don't know
Taylor
why.
Hall. I don't know why either.
I don't know why. He's never been a good enough offensive defenseman. He's just a stay-at-home defenseman.
But like Nurse, not Nurse.
Nugent.
Larson. Nurse, Clefbaum, and who's the other one
Chris
that you just
Russell.
named? Chris Russell. Like, is that?
And then
is that-
Brandon Davidson, they just picked him up.
Is that?
By any chance, you guys see Chris Russell's goal the other day?
saw that
I was
against
at
the
the beauty
Leafs.
goal of the year right there.
A minute and four,
Shades of Brian
A minute
McCabe.
and 4 seconds left in the game.
Shades of Brian McCabe.
Is that an is that? Can we really say that that's that much worse than the Leafs? Like, can we like? Because I don't think so. Russell, Larson, Nurse, Clefbaum
Well, when you have
is
players,
not really worse than Riley, Gardner, Hunwick, Pollock.
well, when,
right?
when
Like-
you have defense, when you have
forgot
defensemen,
I would put
Okay.
Zaitsev and Hainsey before.
when you-
Pollock.
Okay, Ron Hainsey.
when you have defensemen playing
But
outside
he's
of their role,
unripe. The guy is a brown banana now. He's expired.
but when you have defensemen playing outside of their expected roles, problems will happen. Morgan Riley has potential to be a number one defenseman. Is he playing like one right now? I would say so. He's able to be a solid,
Yeah,
stable
but-
option defensively, and he can move the puck very effectively.
I can move the puck too.
That's
It's-
great. Okay.
It's for me. It's just I don't think you can harp on. I hate getting back to the Leafs, but I'm doing it. I don't think you can harp on Edmonton's defense when it is very, very similar to the Leafs. You could really connect it. Riley, Nurse, Larson,
it's-
Gardner, Russell, Hainsey, Clefbaum, Zaitsev. There you go. They're all the same. And so we can't just be blaming Edmonton on their defense because the Leafs don't have that issue, and they essentially have the same defense. So what's their issue?
Their issues are secondary scoring. They're pretty much after the McDavid line.
Goes down real
Draisaitl
quick.
struggles without McDavid.
even the McDavid
their
line.
third line, Ryan Strome that was a terrible trade. Strome for Eberle. I don't really get that one. Yeah, they need other guys to step up. Lucic, that's a terrible contract right there. It's only going to get worse. I mean, like this. If this is the best Lucic has, and they still have what 4 years with him at $5 million? Is that what it is?
5 years.
5 years at $5 million or $7 million?
6
6 mil.
Yeah.
5 years at 6 mil with Milan Lucic, who's only going downhill.
Yeah.
Man, that's gonna be tough.
And do you value Anderson that much higher than Talbot? I know Talbot hasn't been playing well, but do you really think he's that much better?
This season, yes.
This season, yes. But in general, I'd say no.
I just
So where is the issue? Well, he was pretty good in Montreal back in the day. Yeah, but
who you talking
I-
about?
Talbot.
Okay.
I just
No, he played for the Rangers.
sorry, the Rangers.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Tokarski.
Oh man.
But there was that time where Lundqvist got hurt and Talbot went in against Montreal in that playoff series.
Oh yeah,
And-
yeah.
Andrew Hammond also had a great stretch back
The Hamburglar.
Yeah, well,
He's on Colorado, isn't he?
yeah,
He's
he
not
got
doing
traded in
well.
that
Tried it
deal.
with that
He is not
shit.
doing well anymore. He
No.
peaked. Major time. Major.
He's
But for
Colorado's
me,
third string.
I would connect Toronto's goalie to Edmonton's goalie, not
Yeah.
right now, but
yeah,
usually, yes,
yeah.
Talbot, Anderson, same ballpark. They're second
Except
tier.
Anderson's not playing almost 80 games a season.
Yeah,
That
well,
was a lot.
Um,
Talbot
how
is
many did
getting
he actually play last season? Like 76? Yeah.
Talbot? Yeah, 76
It was-
at the most.
Anderson's played the most minutes this year on any team, though.
Yeah,
so
because
they are working
they
a lot.
don't
We have
have-
McElhaney.
Well, they don't have as many back-to-backs. They don't have as many back-to-backs.
And if
That's
there's
what that
not
is.
a back-to-back, there's no reason to play McElhinney.
No. He's not good enough to warrant that.
But-
Hey, Anderson, you're getting the rest tonight. McElhinney's in
Ripen
net.
up. But yeah, they've got.
We're taking the L tonight.
I would say same goalie, same defense. So where is?
But then the forward core
Edmonton
is not.
So you're saying is it that much worse than the Leafs?
The forwards?
Yeah.
Well, when you have Nugent Hopkins on your third line,
we
you
got
should be
Bozak
doing
on our-
really well.
Yeah, okay,
but
yeah, okay,
Nugent
I see what you're
Hopkins.
saying.
Nugent Hopkins is a first overall pick.
Right.
How is he a third liner? How does he put up 39 points
But
last
look
season?
at it,
Then you go back to Yakupov. Like, what happened there?
They
Nugent
just picked the wrong guy. They picked the wrong guy.
But who
Ryan
else-
Murray was the guy that they should have picked, and then
That would have been a
Hopkins-
great pick. But is is
Yakupov-
Ryan Murray a first overall pick? Because I don't think he is.
He's on Columbus right now.
He
and he's
was-
not. I
That
guess.
that year, maybe
He was
he's
compared
the
to Scott
best.
Niedermeyer. So I mean, but Yakupov
No, I
then
was
would have
compared
gone to
to-
Columbus. Galchenyuk would have stayed in Montreal. I don't know how. I don't know why. And then
I think that was just a bad year.
Riley was going to get
rough.
drafted by New York Islanders. Reinhart drafted by the Leafs.
Reinhart was a bust.
He was a major bust.
I just
Griffin or Sam?
Bust.
Griff.
Oh wow.
I would
Matt Dumba.
I would just I don't know if you've got
Hampus
McDavid, Lucic, Draisaitl.
You should be
Nuge,
doing well.
Strome.
You should be
Like,
doing-
I'm just trying to figure out like where their issue lies. Is it just guys are just bad right now?
think
Like
it's
are they in a
It's
Perform
their,
slump?
it's their secondary scoring.
Like because
and their defense.
I think for me, I think they have
Chris
the
Russell,
exact
man.
same, almost the exact same as the Leafs have. If you look at Mark just got smoked in the face with the microphone.
sorry.
I really think that they have the same as the Leafs. They've got a good goalie, like just not the top price, quick Bobrovsky, Holtby category, but right underneath that, where you find the Anderson, Lundqvist, Talbot, guys like those.
I
But
think the Leafs are just a
defense-
little bit better everywhere, and coaching
Defense,
as well.
Yeah, coaching. Well, maybe that could be it. Is it coaching? Is
That-
it just all of
Probably.
Edmonton's management?
I think the challenge is a little bit better in every category, and the fact that both teams aren't great on defense.
Yeah, but a little bit
Edmonton's being
better.
a little bit worse amplifies it that much
But a little
more.
bit better is between like the 5th overall team in the NHL and the 29th.
Exactly. So I don't
The
think it'd
Leafs
be
just
said a
putting it
little bit
together.
better.
They're putting it together.
It could
Edmonton
just be the
hasn't been.
coaching and the management. I don't know. Maybe it's just the coach isn't a good fit, and their management just doesn't know how to manage their players and when to call them up and when to call them down. Could Yakupov have used another year in the minors or another year
Their
in
player
the AHL,
development was
or-
terrible back then.
Do you think that if McClellan was a coach of the Leafs and Babcock Oilers, would it be a different story?
I don't know about completely different, but I think that they would be closer in the standings for sure. Whether
I think there definitely is a undervalue of coaches.
like yeah,
Like
Yeah, but the coaches can only do so much. They don't
That's
play
what I'm
the
saying.
games. You know,
Yeah, they don't-
they're
they
not
don't-
Yakupov. They're not McDavid.
they don't play the games, but I don't know. Like you look at a guy like AJ Hinch who came into Houston and kind of
Oh,
turned
we're
that.
talking about baseball.
Well, no, I'm just saying turn that
No.
amazing
Is,
team. Yeah,
that's a baseball
Yeah.
guy.
yeah,
Okay.
Houston
Houston
Astros.
Okay, I gotta switch my brain now.
Well, it's just I'm just using an example. You
Okay.
you get that great team, and then you get that great coach to push them over the edge.
Yeah, but it's the preparation. You know,
And maybe it's just that there's just not that like the Blue Jays. Maybe if they had a guy who was better than Gibbons who pushed them over the edge, maybe they win the World Series.
gotta hit
last
home
year.
runs. Gotta hit home runs. Gotta hit home runs.
Because that's all he does. And that's the thing. Baseball may
Get
be
up,
different
pal.
because it's
That's
definitely
Buck Martinez.
managed. Could be managed differently, but you never saw John Gibbons tell his players to bunt. And maybe you get a guy like AJ Hinch who loves the small game, manages the Blue Jays. They bunt all the time. They produce more runs.
small
Maybe
ball
it's a
is what
completely
wins
different thing.
championships.
So going back to the Leafs, Babcock again loves spacing out the lines. Loves giving everyone a lot of minutes. Loves
Yeah.
spacing out.
He
the
likes
work.
the depth.
He's a strategic guy in that sense that he likes depth and he likes 12 guys on forward and 6 guys on defense who are going to
My-
be able to help you win a game.
My
whereas-
only complaint with Babcock though is why have Komarov on the third or second line? It just doesn't make any sense. He's not going to score goals.
McClellan has
It's
always
the
just-
regular season though.
he's
Make
always
the
just-
lines top heavy.
McClellan has always done that. He's always
Yeah.
made it top heavy. And you look, they've got all their best players stacked on their first line. And when he was the coach of the Sharks, he'd always have Thornton, Marlowe, and
Couture, Burns,
or
all running
a
together.
Burns when he was a forward. He always had the top players going with the top players. And maybe that's just Edmonton's issue.
Like you
Like-
imagine JVR, Matthews, and Marner together on a line.
Yeah.
that's incredible.
But maybe
and then
maybe that's where the Leafs are winning. Maybe if they had put McDavid first line, Draisaitl second line, Nugent Hopkins third line, and space it all out. Maybe it's a different story.
The thing is, though, in my opinion, Edmonton doesn't have the type of depth that would allow them to do that offensively. Because after McDavid, Draisaitl has not been as good without McDavid. Like, yes, he's still a good player, but he's a way better player with McDavid. And if he's going to be worth the however much money they're paying him, $10 million or whatever, then he needs to be with McDavid for them to get their money out of that. Patrick Maroon, nice complimentary piece. Couldn't do anything without McDavid, even close to what he's been doing. Nuge, nice third-line center, but he's not going to be a guy that's worth the $6 million he's getting. We've already went over Lucic. And then after that, who is there? I don't know, literally.
Ryan Strome and Jesse Puljujarvi.
Exactly, and Puljujarvi hasn't developed yet, and he could still use some time
Moto.
before he's counted on to be a legit scoring option. And Ryan Strome, same kind of thing as Nugent Hopkins. He's not the player that we thought he was going to be when he was drafted.
So going back to the development, like, should Puljujarvi be in the AHL right now?
The Edmonton can't afford it because their scoring depth is so bad. They need that option,
So
even if he's not
what
ready.
was so different about their team last year then? What happened to their team last year?
I don't know.
I think every player just peaked.
Yeah. McDavid was out of this world. He's still out of this world, but
Because last year we were looking at it like Nashville was more that
I think
team
their
that peaked,
their
whereas
defense.
Edmonton was the team
last
that
year,
they're just getting
Oscar
started.
Klefbom and Adam Larson last year both looked like top pairing options. This year they both come down to earth.
They were the Western Leafs. They were the team that everyone was like, okay, they're probably not going to win this year, but they're going to get really good. And Nashville,
Draisaitl peaked and they totally fell for it and gave him a massive contract that is not going to look good
that
in a couple
Nashville
of years.
team, I think they peaked. I think that was their peak. That a lot of guys had a lot of really good runs.
I think the
for
playoffs
Oilers,
was their
nobody
peak.
thought
The regular
Oilers
season
were going to win.
The regular season for Nashville, I think they can finish better than 8th in the West.
They were the 16th ranked
Nobody
playoff team.
nobody thought after Edmonton was out. Well, it was first round last year.
No,
they lost
or
the
sorry,
conf-
second round.
Second round.
Yeah, it's
Who they thought
yeah.
who people thought they were going to beat Anaheim too. But when they got out, people weren't like, "Oh, like this is over." And I think with Nashville, a lot of people are like, if they don't win the series, we may not see them in the finals again. I think everyone thought Edmonton was on the rise, and so that's why it's confusing.
It is confusing.
As to what
I haven't seen enough Edmonton
happened
games
in Edmonton,
to
like what's
say it's this or
going
it's
on
that
right now. Like what's the issue with them? It doesn't
can't
make
win.
sense.
just a franchise that can't win.
Going now south in Alberta, Calgary, who are now 1 point out of a playoff spot. On paper, are they a playoff team?
I think so for sure.
I say yes.
Their defense is wow.
They have
If that's not the best defense in the league, that's top
Giordano,
5.
Hamonic, and
Brody.
Brody, yeah.
That's and
I wouldn't mind.
Did we say Giordano?
Giordano, Hamilton, Hamonic, and
Brody.
as a top 4.
It's a pretty solid top 4. Put that
I
on the
wouldn't
Leafs,
mind
they
having
win the
that.
Stanley Cup.
Okay, so you take a good look at their team. You got Monahan, Goudreau. Who the rest of their forwards? Sam Bennett,
Matthew Tkachuk.
Matthew Tkachuk.
Ferland.
Okay, Ferland.
Jaromir Jagr.
Stajan.
All right.
Jaromir Jagr.
They've
got guys.
meh depth. Their depth is meh. That's what it is. Okay, and then their defense
Is
on
good.
paper is very good. Hamonic right now has not had a good season.
No,
Hamilton has had a solid season.
not great.
Not great, not bad. Giordano has had also a very meh season.
Frolik,
Mike
Backstrom,
Smith.
Brouwer.
And then the thing with Mike Smith though is that he has game saving ability. You know, like he can steal games for your team. That is a very nice quality to have in a goalie come time for the playoffs. He's on average a very stable goalie. He's the number 1 goalie. Is he a goalie that I would want to net? I would think so. Is he my first choice? No, definitely not. There are absolutely better options. With that in mind, yes, they are definitely a playoff team. When you have a guy like Monahan, Goudreau, Jagr, Backlund, Bennett,
Tkachuk.
you're going to be a
Stajan.
pretty good team. Will they go far in the playoffs? I doubt it. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it to the second or third round.
I'd be surprised
They're not
if they
making
go
it.
to the third round.
They're not making it to the finals. They've never made it past the second round or made it past the first round, and since they went to the Cup Finals.
Okay, but I just have a question. You guys are talking majorly about depth, but you look at
Depth is what wins you cups.
so you look at Tampa Bay, whose
And
third line
they
is
have
made up of
depth.
Killorn, Gord, and Conacher, and then Kunitz, Paquette, and Callahan. Is that really depth? Like, is that like Yanni Gord? I've never even heard of that guy.
He's not a bad player, actually.
And like
doing very
defense,
well.
you've got Slater Quaka.
Slater Cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Used to be a top
silent Ks.
prospect in there.
And
I think that those
I don't
guys
know,
those guys
like-
play specific roles on their team, right? They're not counted on to score. But
I know, I'm just
the
saying,
thing with
let's look at
Calgary's
the
depth.
top team here. They are the top
When we
team.
were watching the Leafs game against Calgary, the broadcast said something like Calgary's bottom 6 forwards have combined for 4 goals this year. That's not acceptable.
bad.
That's terrible. And Sam Bennett's one of those players.
It's just we're talking about how much depth is needed, and I'm just saying Tampa Bay, the best team in the league. I wouldn't argue that they have the best depth in the league. I really don't think that their depth is.
But they're more than
Stellar.
4 goals from their bottom 6.
I don't know how many goals they have.
I'm pretty sure
honestly
that
haven't
probably most
researched it.
players on their bottom 6 have more goals than 4
But
themselves.
then look at New Jersey, who again, unbelievable team.
Yeah,
Great
that-
first line
I
with Taylor
think that
Hall,
might be a bit unsustainable.
Fischer, Bratt.
I don't
and
think New
their
Jersey's
second
going to
line,
stay second in the Metro.
Zajac, Zaka, Johansson, but then their third line is made up of Brian Gibbons, Blake Coleman, and Drew Stafford. Haven't heard of 2 of those guys, and then you've got Stefan Noessen,
Gibbons is decent.
Neeson, Miles Wood, and Boyle. Like that bottom 6.
I'm pretty
is-
sure Wood was a top prospect recently, and Brian Boyle is a good defensive player.
Okay,
That's a
you're-
pretty good
you're-
defensive
you're-
forward
you're-
line. But the thing is, no, because
Miles
these guys
Wood,
play
like-
specific roles on their team, right? Like that's a defensive line. Here, Mark wants to say something.
Okay, so we're not talking about depth. Then we're saying there's guys who are playing.
players.
Yeah, but okay, so you look at the Devils. Are they an incredible team? No.
Right now
They're-
they are.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the record says so. But when you're in a division with Columbus, Pittsburgh, Washington, New York, you're not going to stay second for the whole season. You just won't. Go back to the Devils' depth. Go back. Their defense is Sammy Vatanen, Andy Green. Andy Green as your number one
Sammy Vatanen
defenseman.
hasn't played a game for New Jersey.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, but
I
John
think he
Moore,
has.
Severson, Lovejoy, and
maybe
Butcher.
one.
That's not. That's honestly, I'd almost rather that 6 than Toronto 6. Like
No.
honestly,
Okay, defensively,
Vatanen,
sure,
Green,
they're better.
Moore, Severson, Lovejoy,
Offensively,
Butcher.
they don't do anything. Andy Green should never be anyone's number one defenseman. Yeah, it's nice that they have Corey Schneider, though. Okay, Corey Schneider is definitely a number one goalie on a lot of teams, or on a lot of teams. Their offensive depth is not something I like looking at. Marcus Johansson on their second line,
Okay,
Jesper Bratt on their first line. No,
that's pretty sick. Brad
No.
Heischer Hall. That could turn into a pretty
Okay, yeah.
franchise
it
looking line.
It
You know,
looks like it will. It probably will. Heischer is a very good player. Hall is a good player. Bratt is going to be a very good player. Is he going to be able to sustain his season so far? It doesn't look so. He's had a very slow November. Heischer is going to be an elite player. He was a first overall pick.
You say, of course, and then the development, and then I say, Yakup's a first overall pick, and then you can go
Okay,
on this
but that's-
discussion. But
and just
But
I'm
you
just
look at the
looking
Edmonton
Pittsburgh.
Oilers, though. They're a joke. So
Pittsburgh,
that's-
New
Kunakle,
Jersey was a
Rowney,
joke
Reeves.
yesterday, or last
Like that's a
season.
Stanley Cup winning team. Is Kunakle, Rowney, Reeves. So I don't know if depth is really that.
It's,
I think depth is important, but like Sheehan, Rust, Reeves, Rowley, Kunakle,
well,
Dumoulin,
here's to put it
Rawadol,
into
Schultz,
terms-
Hunwick. These guys aren't.
Caleb, to put it into terms though, okay? Like if you get better players for your best players, they no longer have to play 25 to 30 minutes a game. They can now play 20 minutes a game, and they're not killing themselves putting IV bags in them after every single game. They're not black and blue. They're not worn down nearly as much. They have more energy for the end of the game. Ryan Suter is averaging 28 minutes a game. You know, and then you look at the Calgary Flames when they had Mika Kiprasov. He played 76 games
average on a
consistently.
season, yeah.
Martin Brodeur played that consistently, okay?
And their teams did well.
In the season, in the regular season. Not in the playoffs, though.
New Jersey had 3 cups under British.
Okay, yeah, but that's in the early 2000s, though, when the salary cap was meaningless. There was no salary cap, so you could just go out and buy players.
But what does salary cap have to do with time on?
No,
ice?
it's with the depth. That's what I'm saying. It brings it back to the depth, having the cap space for good players.
I say we head west for our last team for the last 4
team,
minutes.
Vancouver. So is the future now? Is there still needing
Vancouver's
growth?
just kind of a nasty team.
I'm very surprised at how quick like some of these guys have come up. Vancouver's impressed me this year. Like people are pegging them for bottom of the basement.
I was pegging them for basement.
And Bo Horvat could be a number one center someday. Brock Besser, Besser, however you pronounce his name. Wow, that kid's good. I hadn't heard about him coming
Rookie
into the year, but rookie of the month, probably rookie of the year. Like who saw that coming? Yeah, that's a team that I look for in the future for sure.
Obviously,
Really?
we're not going to
yeah.
say. Obviously, you're not going to say playoffs this year. That's
No,
a bit
no,
of a stretch,
no
but-
playoffs this year. But you know, if they can keep developing their young guys, yeah, they could be right there in a couple years with Edmonton. The Western Conference Canadian teams all look very strong going forward.
I'd honestly say in the next 5 years, Vancouver should be one of the top teams, based on the fact that their top goaltending prospect Thatcher Demko is going to be a number one goalie.
I don't
Their
know.
defensive prospects are quite solid.
They just have to get rid of Markstrom and Nilsson as soon as possible.
Markstrom,
You take out Sedin, Gagne, Vanek, Louis Eriksson. You're
Louis
left
Eriksson
with,
has done very well this year, though.
No, but I'm saying you take him out because they'll be gone in the next 3 years, and your team is.
around for like 6.
Yeah, but the Sedin twins
gonna be
have not
40
been what they are for the past 4 years.
The sisters haven't been the same, but they're not relied on as heavily anymore.
No,
Like,
but it's
we're not
okay
in
though
the-
because they got the kid line in Horvat, Besser, and Bershi. That line is very
Bershi a
good.
kid?
Goldabin.
How
He's a
old is
kid.
Bershi?
Probably 25.
Okay, that's
He's a kid.
borderline kid. He's
Sid
ripe.
the kid is 30 years old. Okay,
He's ripe.
he's ripe.
He's ripe.
Um,
Just for the last 2 minutes here, if we had real South, what
Oh,
Arizona?
Arizona?
Honestly, you look at their team, it's really not that bad.
No, it's not.
You look at Stepan,
Potential-wise.
Ryder, Pierlini, Domi, Dvorak, Keller, Zach Ronaldo, a good depth guy, Strome, Fisher, Duclair, like Ekman Larson, Demers, Chychrun, Connaughton, Goligoski, Shen.
They have
These are
Jean
not.
on the IR.
These are
but
not.
they are a case.
awful
No.
players.
Here's what
They're
it is,
very
though,
young.
okay?
It's an AHL team and an NHL body, but these AHL players are not. They're gonna be good. Like Pierlini, Ryder, Domi, Declare, Strome, like Dvorak, Keller, like Ekman Larson.
They
like,
have a lot of potential. But
Chychrun.
here's what their problem is, though. They need solid NHL bodies in that lineup right now to help those prospects develop. That's what the Leafs did, and they are looking very good. That's not what Buffalo did. Buffalo literally blew everything up, and they are struggling heavily. They literally tore their team apart. The Leafs kept Bozak, they kept Kadri, they kept JVR. I still would have liked them to keep Dion Phaneuf just for Morgan Rielly, just so he wouldn't be thrown to the Wolves playing 25 minutes a night. But it's just one of those things where, like, when you rebuild, you can't throw every part of your team away. You just can't. Otherwise, when you get those prospects onto your team because there's nothing else to put there, they're going to get exposed. They're going to get beaten down. They're going to lose their confidence and not
so
develop
Arizona
as properly.
playoff team in 5 years? Yes or no?
Yes, but they need better pieces on their team.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no doubt.
I say with the
should keep
team they have
developing.
now.
They need to keep developing these guys.
Team they have now. You center your
That's
offense
the
around
key.
Stepan,
They
your defense
keep-
around Ekman Larson.
And they need a goalie too.
And
That's
they need a
another
goalie.
big thing that Arizona needs. And I mean, the Leafs didn't have a goalie till they got Anderson. They can trade for that. They thought they had that in Antti Raanta. They probably don't. They need that, but fortunately, they have a year or two before that becomes a prominent issue.
I honestly, if they could somehow swing, which would never happen, but just saying because he's from like a Matthews to center
please
that.
no.
and you put Matthews,
no.
you center your offense around Matthews and your defense around Ekman Larson, that is a filthy team that could do a lot. I think now
I
they
just
can do
hope they
damage.
don't get forced into
Now they
trading
can.
Ekman Larson before they get good.
I hope they keep him too. I think they can be.
Unless he's coming to
unbelievable.
Toronto.
All right, it is 7 o'clock, meaning our show is done. So I am Zach DeWeird, along with Caleb, Mark, and Alex. We did our very best to shy away from the Leaf talk, but
And
this
we
is all.
sucked.
This is all what we're. This is what you're going to get with us. I hope you had a good time. We all did. Have a great night and a great rest of your week.
Auf Wiedersehen.